It's time to explore the world according to Glenn. I'm Kevin Jacobsen. Glenn Close is my favorite actress, and this show is all about exploring the career of one of the finest actors of her generation. Each episode, I'll be joined by a guest as we dive into one of Glenn's movies, TV shows, or stage productions, going chronologically through her career, discussing her performance, and assessing the project itself. And today, we're talking Glenn's performance as a lonely doctor in the Showtime TV movie, Things You Can Tell Just by Looking at Her.
Time nominee Glenn Close, motherfuckers.
My guest today is returning to the show after joining me for my Serving in Silence episode, where we had such a great time breaking down that little gem of a movie. She is a podcaster and editor. She co-hosts the Q Division podcast and the Rewatch podcast. She does so many shows. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Chelsea Eichholz.
Kevin, much like Super Nanny, you're in a crisis and I'm here to help. I don't know how much help I will be, though, because we have a crime scene.
Yes, there is, as I like to say, a lot to unpack with the movie that we'll be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, of course, we need to do our little introductory question. But as a returning guest, you have already told me your origins with Glenn, so now I'll ask you a fun alternative question, which is instead of looking to the past for your origins, let's look to the future, perhaps. So, Chelsea, if you had the power to cast Glenn Close in any future film, what is the genre, what's the area we're looking for, and what kind of role would you cast her in?
Well, besides all of the roles, right. I would love to cast her, I guess in my Doctor Who world, I want her to be the master in Doctor Who is like the main prime villain that goes against. I think she would do a great job. She would have so much fun. I would want to see that press tour. But also, Glenn always surprises me. I will always bring up the Deliverance. So, Glenn, you do whatever you want. And I'm here for it. You were on Hollywood Squares, and I've never had a better time in my life. So, Glenn, You keep surprising me. Don't do what anyone wants you to do. Do what your heart tells you to do, and what Pip tells you to do.
Yes, Pip is secretly her agent, as
secretly.
We know. So, I love that. She can really do whatever she wants to do, regardless of what either of us would want from her.
I know. I mean, just wake up dead man. Didn't you say you could run through a wall? And then I saw it and I'm like, I'm the fucking Kool-Aid man right now, bursting through.
Yes. Oh my God, that ending.
What a picture.
What a picture and what a face.
Oh.
You know. Thank you, Rian Johnson, for framing her so beautifully. I agree. Anything she wants to do, Doctor Who, I'm sure she would have a blast doing that. I mean, yeah, she, to her credit, really will do whatever her heart tells her to do. And I love that for her.
I know. I'm going to see a Hunger Games for her just to see what's going on.
Yes, in which she is buried under pounds of makeup. So
she's going to have a great time.
Yes, she is. And so will we. So on that note, Chelsea, let us introduce what we are going to talk about today. We have a fascinating movie to break down. And Chelsea, it is famously a difficult title to remember, so I'm going to ask you a pop quiz here. What is the movie we're talking about today?
Okay. I think I'm going to get kind of close.
Okay.
And in no particular order, I have several guesses.
Perfect.
She's just not into what women want.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have some of the words correct?
Yeah, like 2 or 3. I would say.
She's got a way to always be a woman to me?
Mm-hmm. Billy Joel. Not quite.
The things I knew just after seeing her in the streets.
Wow. We got things. So
Yep.
that's a good that we're making progress.
Things she can't see but reads on your palm.
Whoa. I would like to see that.
I
But
know.
that's not what it is, unfortunately.
Something about the way she moves with her looks.
Looks, things, looks. We're getting closer.
We're getting close.
Mm-hmm.
How she just looks into your eyes to read your soul.
Whoa. Well,
That might just be the Callista Flockhart section.
that's true.
From the Cameron Diaz section, things you can feel while you're walking in the rain.
Wow.
I know.
Feeling the rain on our skin.
Not the title. And then, of course, she is gone, but she used to be mine.
Ugh.
One
wow.
I plagiarized from you.
Yes, you did.
Kevin, I genuinely have no idea what this movie title is, but I think I'm getting close.
You're getting there. I think you probably said all of the words within all of those guesses. Just you need to kind of combine them all.
I gotta put them back in the blender.
Yes. And what we came up with, the actual title, drum roll please, Things You Can Tell Just by Looking at Her.
I think mine had a little bit more spice and flavor.
Yeah, they had a little more pizzazz, I would say.
Little
We could have
razzle-dazzle.
workshopped it. Sorry to Rodrigo Garcia, but we could have workshopped it a little bit.
Yeah, should have
Anyway.
messaged us.
Yes. So that wonderful 9-word title is the movie we are discussing today. So, Things You Can Tell Just by Looking at Her. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival and won a major prize there, and then it aired on Showtime the following year in 2001. So, yes, this comes from writer-director Rodrigo Garcia, which is a name you'll be hearing quite a bit of as this series goes forward, as he would become a frequent collaborator of Glenn's. But this is his directorial debut and also his first produced screenplay. So Rodrigo Garcia is the son of the great writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he wrote the script for this film in 1997 and continued to work on it through the Sundance Institute's Writers and Filmmakers Lab. And there he got in touch with Kathy Baker, who would go on to be one of the stars in this film. And he also was able to get his script out to Glenn and to Holly Hunter, both of whom were very eager to sign on for this. There's a kind of charming story I found about Rodrigo visiting the set of Sarah Plain and Tall, the third one, and he still kind of thought that he was courting Glenn to be in this movie, but she very much indicated that, like, she's definitely doing the movie while on the set, and she told Christopher Walken, quote, "I want you to meet Rodrigo. He wrote a beautiful script, and I'm going to be in the movie." And as Rodrigo says, I remember thinking, I'm going to pass out right now.
I mean, I too would pass out if Glenn Close was saying nice things about me.
Right? Yes. Like, I feel your kindred spirit there, Rodrigo. So Glenn being attached was kind of the linchpin for getting the other actresses on board. And Rodrigo is very upfront about this, that having Glenn lent him a kind of credibility that he hadn't had beforehand. So yes, this film, it was made for $2 million. They shot it in the San Fernando Valley, which is where this takes place. So, with all that said, to get into a description, Things You Can Tell Just by Looking at Her is an anthology film of sorts about various women living in the San Fernando Valley, exploring their relationships, their identities, their loneliness, and just the internal lives of women living in the modern world. The first story stars Glenn as Dr. Elaine Keener, a lonely middle-aged woman who is taking care of her ailing mother and longs for companionship. She seeks out a tarot card reader, Christine, played by Callista Flockhart, who informs her of what may be in store for her future. We also meet Rebecca, played by Holly Hunter. She's a bank manager who is having an affair with a married man and is pregnant with his baby. We have Kathy Baker as Rose, a single mother with a teenage son, and she takes a curious fascination with her new neighbor, a man with dwarfism, which leads her down a curious path. And then in the fourth story, we have Callista Flockhart again as Christine, and we see her caring for her terminally ill life partner, Lily, played by Valeria Galino. And the final story is Amy Brenneman as Kathy, a police detective investigating the suicide of a woman that unnerves her, which she is also dealing with her own sense of loneliness, especially in relationship to her outgoing sister, Carol, who is also blind, played by Cameron Diaz. And so these stories are very loosely connected, which is to say that these women show up in each other's lives at a few points, but they're also connected by this woman who was being investigated, who died by suicide, who is seen in all of these 5 stories. So Yes, a lot to get into here, Chelsea. First of all, just want to start with this. We have talked quite a bit offline before getting on here about our experience watching this. So for the listener, I know you hadn't seen this before and I hadn't seen it before either, but what were your expectations for this before you started watching it? And then how did you feel as you were watching, and how has it settled with you now? And most importantly, your thoughts on Glenn.
I don't know if this film will ever settle, but Kevin, last time I came on this podcast, it was like a surprising gem of a film. And I always go into any film with an open heart, open mind. And now, Kevin, this is an interrogation because you get to walk these listeners through the plot of this film like it's a crime scene, which is how this film opens. And I feel like that's how we have to approach this, because as we watch this film, it's like, oh, this could be something really good. And then, because it's an anthology, it's one battle after another, because you start with Glenn and Callista, and then you nosedive into Holly and whatever is happening there. And then you think it's going to even out with Kathy Baker, and it's like, nope, we're going to get weirder. And then by the time you get to Callista, you're like, thank God. This is like Sad Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And then you get to Cameron Diaz and Amy Brenneman, and after everything you've been through, they're only like the third weirdest section of this film. I think I'm going to be processing this in therapy for a very long time. I am so glad it has so many great actresses in it. And like, before I watched the movie, I saw that an editor that we follow each other on Instagram, she edited this, and it was one of her earliest films, and I reached out, and she said she had a great experience. And all of her notes about Glenn and Callista's scenes, like, you see exactly what she's talking about and how wonderful it is. But man, is this a journey? And it is like, it has a couple ups, and then there's some low downs, and what a time we had. I just don't know how we got through this. This is a movie that won Un Certain Regard? What's going on?
Yeah. This was a wild experience, I will say. Not what I was expecting from this movie, personally. This was a little bit like, longtime followers of my shows will know this reference. When I watched Afterglow for my Best Actress series on And the Runner-Up Is, for Julie Christie's nomination, that movie just went in some wild directions and had a tone to it that I kind of struggled with. And I think I still generally ended up finding this movie to be an admirable effort. And I like the idea behind it, but I also found a lot of it to be a little ill-conceived in execution, and felt like it didn't really come together as intended.
And to compliment my acquaintance who edited this, I think the editing in this is very good, but I do want to see all the footage and what was left on the cutting room floor, because I'm much like a crime scene investigator. I'm curious because there's some wild turns that we go to. I just couldn't believe it. And then I just start texting you and I'm like, Kevin, what are we watching? What's going on? I'm glad I watched this on Tubi because I'm a girl who loves commercial breaks. I love a bathroom break, a go get your snack break. And I really needed this just to process information. Like, just sitting there being like, whoa, what's going on?
Right. Yes. And also, I think just generally speaking, I don't know if this is the case for you, but one problem I have sometimes is watching these kinds of anthology movies. It's a little bit hit or miss. Generally speaking, like, you definitely prefer one story to others. I think it starts really well. Like you said, it starts to go downhill as you watch Holly's story and Kathy's story, and it just takes a lot of wild turns, right? And so that's why it's tough for me. But one thing I do think it has going for it to a certain extent is I think it sort of appeals to my sensibilities as that kind of sort of like quirky 6 Feet Under dark comedy mixed with drama that I kind of appreciated in this era. And like, as a huge fan of that show, I could see a little bit of like DNA with what's going on there if you were picking up on that a little bit too.
Most definitely. Like, this almost feels like a first draft of something. Like, it could get there. And maybe not have the same writer and director. Like, one or the other. Like, have somebody help with some rewrites to really firm down some ideas. And maybe scale back. Holly Hunter, scale back. Whatever's going on there. But it has the bones of a good movie. And we say this with no bias at all, that Glenn is the bright, shining star of this film because her section is so interesting to me. I could listen to her and Callista Flockhart just like go through the tarot cards all day. Like, that is a TV show I would watch. But man, what a weird time this was. Like, I'm bewildered, beguiled.
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered, you could say.
Everything.
Yeah. It also feels like it sits in a similar space of like American Beauty from around that time too. Like the idea of like looking closer at people's internal lives and how they seem to have it all together. But of course, in reality, there's a lot going on beneath the surface. There's a lot going on in that turn of the century era with this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. And yet somehow when they say there's so much more beneath the surface, it's barely surface deep. Like,
no,
so much of this is like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I do have problems with the one recurring man in a lot of these segments being able to pull Glenn Close, Holly Hunter, and Cameron Diaz. But you know what? This is a fiction, so men can do anything.
I guess so. That's what I learned from this, which is probably not the intended lesson, but
exactly.
It's just, like I said, very much like that middle class, I guess upper middle class, almost exclusively white. Like, this feels very much of that time. And I think that may be also one criticism that I kind of felt after I watched it was just the sense of like, we're kind of getting the same demographic of story, like these kind of upper middle class white women in the San Fernando Valley, like, and they're surrounded by people who have different, like, either disabilities or just have different stories of having to deal with certain pressures of being a minority, for example, in America. Whereas, like, I kind of want to know what their stories are a little bit more than, like, through these white women.
Exactly that. Like, it is just so weird to me that we, at this time, were so fascinated with what, like, white women problems. And, like, some of these aren't even really problems. I think I just don't even know. Like, I want to know more about the young woman that Amy Brenneman is, like, trying to figure out what's going on with her suicide. Maybe less about Cameron Diaz, like, projecting what's going on in this woman's life. Even though that was one of the better parts of the movie.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah. But yeah, I just think some of these stories, like, I understand, like, the approach. I just feel like they don't really have their intended effect. And he's kind of, I don't know if directorially, like, that he is presenting these sort of quirky stories. Like, it feels like there's a little bit of a remove here, I suppose, that doesn't really work for me. You know, I think in certain stories you feel the loneliness and the desperation of these women and how they're just trying to, like, find some happiness and love, but they just keep finding themselves stuck in these caregiver roles, essentially, and they have these responsibilities that is making it hard for them to have it all. So I get what the message is. I just feel like on a story level, like, good performances, generally speaking, all around. It's just the script feels so underbaked for me, like, in a lot of these stories, that I just feel like, okay, like, I feel like I'm trying to get attached to these characters, and then the story ends. Like, that's kind of an anthology story problem, generally, but here it's glaring.
It is. And for anybody interested in watching this movie, watch it on Tubi with commercials. Do not watch the trailer, because the trailer is selling you something completely different, and the music choices are insane and hilarious.
Natalie Imbruglia, Torn, because it is precisely the early 2000s.
Exactly.
Yes. But yes, of course, we are here to talk about Glenn, and Glenn is definitely one of the clear MVPs of this film. She starts off the film really strong, and we get a lot of great face acting from her as like this woman who is in a good place career-wise. She is successful at her job, but it's clear that the years of taking care of her mother have taken a toll, and also her lack of companionship is clearly taking a toll. And the way we kind of linger on her face in these moments, like when Callista's character is telling her fortune, it's kind of astonishing watching it, just how she doesn't reveal too much, but you also feel like she is communicating directly to the viewer what she's thinking, as this woman is just kind of nailing every single sad facet of her life.
And I brought up the message from the editor.
Okay.
So I'll read some of this because she was so kind to remember it, and she had a great experience making this movie. Obviously, I love that Glenn Close was flawless, obviously, and Callista Flockhart was really good as well. But she says, I just remember that we rarely cut away from her because she was so compelling just listening to Christine reading the tarot cards. Rodrigo's description of Dr. Keener in the script was inscrutable, and that was how she played it. What Christine was saying about her life was 100% correct, but Dr. Keener wasn't going to let her see that. And I, like, seeing that and then watching the movie, I'm like, you definitely see it. Glenn does so much with her eyes. Like, her face is supposed to be a blank slate, but her eyes kind of give her away to the audience. And that is one thing Glenn is going to do. Like, she is in such control of her entire person. And, truly, like, Glenn really set us up on, like, such a good high that I'm like, ooh, we might be cooking now. And then when we lost her and she only pops up a couple more times, I was like, oh, I miss her. Glenn is just, she is so good as this caretaker, and like a messy caretaker in many ways, because she's like taking care of like her mother, but also like stealing her diamond earrings to wear for herself, which I think is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I would say good for her.
Good for her. Go for it. Show them off.
Right?
Early inheritance.
I think like that segment is well photographed, honestly, compared to the other 4 stories here, where it's a very like beige color palette, really kind of reflecting this very sterile existence she's kind of living. And the way we see her very desperately sort of connecting on the phone with these male doctors that she's trying to get to know better. I think you're kind of sensing this urge in her to escape this sort of dreary, lonely quality of her life, and just being a caregiver to her mother is just not very glamorous. Even though I do like the moment where she has a little giggle when her mother does a big loud fart, which is
when
wild.
I say they got that from some Looney Tunes like audio library, that fart was so silly, but it also like I needed that laugh.
You needed it. The laughs are very few and far between here. So
yeah, not the purposeful ones, at least.
No, right. But yeah, she keeps like the way she kind of admires herself in the mirror, looking at her earrings, not her earrings, but her mother's earrings, technically. The way she looks at herself in the mirror, a little reminiscent of Dangerous Liaisons. Just saying. I thought of that, right? She's an excellent mirror actor.
Yes, one of our best.
Yeah. Even when she answers the door to Callista Flockhart as Christine, it's funny the way she kind of like sizes her up and down looking at her. And I feel like she wasn't expecting this kind of like hot young woman who like has her belly shirt and is like very like skinny young woman who maybe she would make fun of on TV or something. Like that's kind of the sense I was getting the way she's looking at her. But when Callista is like reading her for filth, like the library is open.
Oh yeah. And like Callista really does hold her own in those scenes. Like she's so believable. Like this is prime Ally McBeal time, by the way, y'all. Everyone go watch Ally McBeal. What a beautiful, fun show. She is so good at playing this kind of like hippie lesbian who can read you to filth, as she is saying, but has so much like empathy for the situation going on. She's not trying to be a jerk, and she's like you have control of your life. This is not like predicting the future, which
Right.
is something people are still trying to explain about tarot and palm reading and everything. Which, she can read my palm any day. It's fine. Come on, Callista, come over. Bring Harrison with you as well. But they were so fun.
Is that what we're calling it these days? Come over and read my palm, Callista.
Now I'm like thinking of the Air Force One of it all. It's like, do you think they talked about Harrison on Air Force One? Because this is pre-Harrison Ford, but like Harrison Ford was very handsome at this time.
Yes.
I mean,
maybe we'll have that detour. I mean, yeah, it is fascinating because Harrison Ford, yes, Callista and Harrison met in 2002, so very shortly after this.
I'm going to start the rumor that Glenn set them up right here. You heard it here first,
I think we're going to say that's canon. Yes. And I wonder if Glenn still hangs out with Harrison and Callista and they talk about their old movies together. I don't know.
They could. Nice. They both seem to be very grounded people, although Harrison stay out of the planes. Stay out.
Right. Yes. I'll get off my plane. Get off any plane. Sorry. Anyway, I just love all of the just very plainly spoken lines that Callista has to Glenn of being like, you know, you have self-confidence, but you're not satisfied. You don't know yourself well. You're restless and unsettled. You're a great pretender. You like to give the impression that you're happy to be by yourself, but in reality, you're mortified that your marriage failed. Like, it's these very hard truths, but to your point, it's not judgmental in a way that's like, how dare you? It's kind of just like presenting the facts very sort of clinically.
Yeah, truly read me to filth, because this, I don't know why, but maybe it's just how, when she's saying all this, we're lingering on Glenn's face. And Glenn is just taking this in and still just looking her up and down. You can't, like, her facial expression rarely changes, but her eyes give everything away. I cannot emphasize enough that she's like, oh no, I'm still looking this woman up and down, being like, damn, how did you do that?
Witch.
She's a witch.
Yes. She contacted an Etsy witch, and this is what she got.
I'm going to become an Etsy witch. Just you wait.
I think you could do it.
Thank you.
I could see you in that mode. Yes. But yes, it's a lot of Glenn just listening, taking a drag of her cigarette. Good cigarette acting too.
Oh, one of our best again.
Yeah. And is like very visibly vulnerable, just listening and upset by this stranger kind of clocking her so accurately. And I love how we just are settling on Glenn's face, to the credit of this editor, that like, she's just sitting there unable to really even argue with anything she's saying. Because, like, for her, it's more or less like a confirmation of what she kind of knows deep down, but hasn't really verbalized. And she's wondering, like, if actually she might be heading in a better direction. She says she's been having dreams, but also says, like, if there's any bad news, I don't want you to tell me, like, because she's already painted a rather bleak picture here. But yeah, they talk about how like there could be a younger man in her future, and it's Glenn speaking very softly, intently about like, could it be like a man at work? But she's insistent that like this is a new man. It's not someone that you know. Mm-hmm. And I love the way this kind of reaches its own little climax here of Christine telling her that like nothing is written in stone, right? That like none of this happens without you.
Exactly. And you know what? Everyone take that to your astrologist and your tarot card readers and really internalize that, because Glenn really internalized that. She didn't like act like she believed her, but you knew she did. She's like, oh, damn, she got me.
Yeah, the way she just kind of shuts the door on her and then walks over and is just kind of visibly rattled by this. Mm-hmm. You can tell it hit her deeper than she ever anticipated, I think.
I know. And I wanted to see more of that just throughout. And
yeah, same.
I know. We started on such a high because I'm like, oh, this is something good. Can't wait to see more.
Yeah, it's good. And I feel like it has layers here that the other stories don't. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, like, I thought, like, what I got from the story is the idea of, like, things you feel like you're destined to be, or, like, where you think your life is going.
That is the title of the movie, yes.
There you go. That, like, it doesn't have to be that way, that you can sort of choose your own adventure to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's one thing of having all the characters be like privileged white women, is that they are afforded opportunities even while still obviously dealing with sexism and like responsibilities in their lives, but they can still kind of comfortably make a change, I guess, relatively speaking, to better their lives, which is sort of what I thought the rest of the movie was going to tie into.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really gets there with most of the other stories. So
No.
I was like, okay, well, I guess it's not about that.
Yeah, because in this section, what I think it does well that the other sections they try to do but don't succeed in is you see these two great actresses essentially just having a conversation. And as a person who watches way too many soap operas and loves just dialogue, it's my favorite thing. I'll just put a play on in the background, National Theater at home. I love to hear people have a conversation where you could tell they're listening and taking in the information and actually reacting off each other. And none of this was for shock value. Like a lot of the other sections where it was like weird blind jokes or like speculation about a woman's suicide or whatever the hell Holly Hunter was doing, which we will get to because I still don't know what was going on there. Sure. This just felt like the part where they actually focused on the script and every intention, and maybe it was because Glenn and Callista like brought so much to it. Because again, I think the other pretty good section is Callista's with like her girlfriend dying, and not every section had something there that you wanted to follow. Everything else kind of felt like an assault of the senses and just trying to shock you for no good reason.
Yes, and that's where it starts to feel more like what I was saying with like American Beauty sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of like, we're pushing the envelope a little bit and we're really exploring what's really going on in all of these things.
Exactly. I mean, this section, the first one, really set us up thinking we were in for something good. I'm like waiting for some serving in silence realness. And then, woo boy, does this goes some places. And I was shocked, moderately offended, and being like, what is happening?
Yeah. Well, let's get into fantasies about Rebecca is what this segment is called.
Of course it's called that.
We don't have to delve too much into some of these other stories because we're here to talk about Glenn, but in honor of the movie we watched, we have to talk about some of them to a certain extent.
We have to figure out what we can tell by looking at her. And yes, I am reading the actual title off Wikipedia now.
You can't really internalize it. You just have to read it.
I do.
Holly Hunter is our second segment. She's playing this bank manager, Rebecca, and we see her frequently in this story arguing with this vagrant woman played by Penelope Allen. And it's this kind of weird, stilted conversation where this woman is finding out about Rebecca's life as a bank manager and wondering how much her employees respect her as like a woman in charge. And that's where it kind of gets her thinking about like asking her male colleague, Walter, who will show up in many of these stories, about like, you think some of the men in the office are having like sexual fantasies about me? And he's basically like, yeah, probably. But it's just like kind of a wild tone here where like it feels like a lot of this is supposed to be played for laughs, but it's also played so straight and dramatic that it's just so odd to really figure out a way into this story.
Kevin, you're not a whore, are you? Because that's a whore's name. A snake as well as a whore. These are things that are said in this segment. That made me so happy for Tubi commercial breaks because I was like, what is she doing? She's smoking with this woman. And I guess gives her the wrong name and says, then the lady's like, Danielle's like a whore's name. I'm so sorry to all the Danielles out there.
Yeah, Jesus.
When I say every little thing that's in this segment took me out more than the thing that happened before it. Like, it opens on, like, it's aiming for, like, softcore porn of Holly Hunter having an affair, and then it goes into, like, women in the workplace. It's like, do you think they hate me because I'm a woman? And I'm like, oh
Right.
yeah, a man wrote this. Oh boy. Don't bring this movie to Morgan's podcast. And then, like, she's entertaining this, like, unhoused woman who's, like, smoking and buying her cigarettes. I don't know if it's because she's entertained by her or what's going on. It feels real weird. And then the woman's, like, calling her a whore every other sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess she's gonna get an abortion, which, honestly, highlight of the scene because Glenn Close returns. Yes. I was really excited to see her again. I would trust Glenn Close to give me an abortion, but
wow,
I know.
I'm going to clip out that one phrase.
Please do. Post it on Instagram. Tag me as a collaborator.
Perfect. Wow.
And then, like, I do not even know what we're doing here. Like, doesn't, like, before her abortion, doesn't she sleep with her subordinate that goes through a few of these segments?
Walter, yes.
Yep, Walter. Not gonna
he has a
remember
name.
Him. Does he? Do men have names, Kevin?
I found out his name after the third time he showed up. Yes.
And then you were like, why are you here? Get a job. Stay away from her.
Her, like the general her.
The general her, because he is this whatever man managing to go on dates with Cameron Diaz, sleep with Holly Hunter, and then we're supposed to think he has a meet cute with Glenn Close at the end. Yeah. Sure.
Good
we
for
need
him,
to,
I guess.
like, every male director needs to internalize the Greta Gerwig fantasy of, we are just gonna cast a really hot person as this average guy, like she did in Little Women by casting the hot guy for, like, Joe March. Like, no, we do not need these boring ass men. I'm sure he's a very nice man. He's perfectly fine, but if you're gonna tell me he's gonna be able to date all of these people and I have to, like, see his butt, cast somebody really hot, like devastatingly hot.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's not like some ugly person, but like,
no,
he's
it's
fine.
just like, what's this guy doing
just
here again?
Very average, very average. I don't know what he has that anyone else doesn't, but yes, anyway.
That's the other title of his name. Like,
right. She goes to the doctor and confirms that she is pregnant with this man she's having an affair with. Also, for some reason, she, like, steals a bunch of candy from the doctor's office. I don't know what that was all about.
Is she my grandma? Because, as we know, Grandma Shirley's wild. She, like, took handfuls, like 4 handfuls of hard pocket candies. What are we doing here? And then she leaves, like, some of it on somebody's nightstand.
Yeah. On Walter's nightstand, right? So, like, okay. I don't know. It's very strange.
This film is PTSD flashbacks, this particular section, because so much weird stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, we also check in on her as she tells this man she's having an affair with that is like, I'm having your baby, and he implies that he doesn't really want her to have this baby. He's clearly not thrilled about it.
No.
At which point, that's where she goes to the bar and flirts with Walter, and then sleeps with him and leaves out the candy for reasons I don't understand.
Yeah.
She also tells him directly at one point, I'm not big on regret, which, sure. But then that's where this wonderful unhoused woman shows up once again and is, like, interrogating her about how, like, she has, like, a whore's name, and is like, one of my favorite lines in the movie, of course, is, you wouldn't know a good man if he bit you on the tit.
That is also the title of this movie.
I mean, talk about the library is open. Like,
that
she is reading.
Penelope Allen, honestly, like, was her portrayal moderately offensive?
Probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
But was I entertained? Yes. It was madness, insanity, feel the rain on your skin, baby. Go for it. Why not?
Yeah, why not, indeed. That seems
but
to be the
also,
approach
Holly
here.
Hunter, whatever wig, haircut thing you were had for this, wow. Somebody really hated you.
It was a little rough. Yeah.
They did her a disservice.
Yeah, but I feel like you're also seeing here that, like, she is sort of internalizing all these things that this woman is saying to her, which is interesting. But yeah, that's where Glenn shows up as Dr. Keener, who will perform the abortion on Rebecca. First of all, seeing her show up and open the door and seeing it was Glenn, that was, like, a Jean Parmesan moment from Arrested Development of being like,
exactly.
yes!
That was like Super Nanny. You're in a crisis, viewers. I'm on my way.
Yes, she's here to help right this ship, you know? And
they had Glenn for 2 days, and they made the most of it.
2 days and a dream.
Oh.
Yes. I think in that scene, though, Holly is delivering a good performance in the sense that she is feeling this almost mortification of, I guess, just like how routine and sort of clinical this all feels, and the way she kind of yelps during the procedure, I think is quite affecting. I imagine all of this is what got her the eventual Emmy nomination, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
This part of it and the aftermath where she's walking down the street and breaks down in tears. Sort of feels like all of the things that she's been doing in her life is all kind of catching up to her in this moment, I suppose.
Very much that. Like, I think it's the scene where it's the Holly Hunter we know and love, and where she's actually given something to do that's just not an assault. Because so much of her segment is chaos, I guess, is the nicest way to say it. But this feels like, oh, this is very routine, even though it's a life-changing thing for many women. I do like how Glenn is very, like, there for her, but is not overtaking the scene because she knows it's not her segment. And just, like, that little yelp really got to me. I thought that was a lovely moment because it is a little painful. And I like that she does have her breakdown. It is, like, the idea of a woman in an indie movie is going to have a breakdown at some point. But I do feel like that moment is earned just because of the whole abortion scene right before it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where, like, we also see that moment of her locking eyes with that woman. And I don't know if, like, the takeaway from some of this is that, like, this woman was sort of right to some degree about, like, reading her for filth in some of this. Like, I'm curious what we're supposed to take away from this and their connection in particular.
Yeah, because, like, in the previous segment, we see Callista reading Glenn to filth, and it feels correct.
Yes.
This time, it just feels like this woman is being mean to her, but not always, like, hitting the mark. I think there's a way to call a person out on bad behavior subtly through conversations like this, but not all of it rings true, especially when she's being called, like, a whore every other sentence, or like something kind of religiously offensive. So, yeah, it was a very strange segment. Holly does have that, like, couple nice moments, though, between all the weirdness.
Yeah, so by the end of that, I'm kind of left with a bit of a mixed message, to be honest. But then we get to Someone for Rose.
Oh, dear. You know.
Which,
we thought it would even out because it's Kathy Baker.
Exactly.
And at this time, like, she'd just be winning Emmys all the time. And
you think, offenses, yes.
Exactly. You think you're back in good hands. And then it starts off weird. Her as a mother, and then she's very touchy-feely with her child, and then there's the love interest situation and then it just keeps getting weirder to the point where I'm like, do we need to call CPS and get both of them into some therapy? What is going on here? I feel like we shouldn't be seeing this.
No, it's rather uncomfortable, generally speaking, this segment.
Walk the listeners through this plot, because it's interesting.
Sure. Yeah, it's compelling, I suppose. We see her as this housewife of sorts with a teenage son. We see her, like, asking him to smell his breath before he leaves, which is interesting. That will come back again later. And we see her looking out the window and spots her new neighbor, this man who has dwarfism, who seems to kind of fascinate her. And I think generally we're sensing that, like, this is this woman who lives this very life of, like, quiet desperation, feels very Desperate Housewives coded, I would say, you know,
without the camp,
without any camp at all. It's just kind of relentless bleak, you know. And so we see her give him a ride to the grocery store, this man, and they get to know each other really well. They seem to hit it off, and that's where she later discovers this bonsai tree that she assumed was left by this man. And she kind of wishes to return the favor by giving him this potted plant. And yet now she decides, instead of kind of like bothering him, she decides to spy on him from the window. Very voyeuristic.
Like, fully walks into his backyard and spies through
Yes.
a window and looks at all of the set of shoes on his, like, bedroom floor. I don't know why they had so many shots of shoes in this. It was very weird. Ugh.
Right, and then of course they make eye contact at one point, I think. And
yeah, isn't he like sleeping and he's either naked or like near nude, and then like it cuts to the shoes and then it cuts to him, his eyes are wide open staring back at her. It's very disturbing.
Lynchian, one could say. Which I know that gets thrown around a lot, but I think if you watch this segment, you know,
it's very correct.
Apt.
Yes.
But yes, she's very voyeuristic and is like trying to deliver this plan to him, but it's all kind of a mess. It's very like Susan Meyer, if people have seen Desperate Housewives, kind of clumsy and awkward, except like none of the actual comedy part of that.
It's not, none of this is played for comedy, by the way. It's like very disturbing, and like the music is so serious. It's a very strange tone.
Yeah, and after that point, she's returning home and has this very frank conversation with her son about sex, and he says he's been sleeping with this girl, and he also seems to be happy at the same time that, like, his mom has, I guess, found this person, this connection, at the very least a friend in their new neighbor, and I think it's very clear as we're watching this that she is, like, very deeply touch-starved, I guess, for lack of a better word, or very lonely and desperate to connect, but unable to really like make that happen in a normal way.
And like emphasis on the touch starved, because she's always hugging her son so much and like draping herself across him. It's very weird. And even when they have conversations and the son just has his hand down his pants the whole time. And it's just like, you guys, no, stop this. This is not fun or interesting. Like, I don't know. Maybe if they committed to the weirdness, but now it just feels so like I should not be watching this.
A very odd tone. I feel like this is where, I know I keep making comparisons to other movies around this time, but this is where it starts to feel like Little Children a little bit, which would come out in 2006.
Little Children's kind of a good movie, though.
It is. It is. I just think, you know, that's kind of what the vibe is here a little bit.
Yeah, it's what they're aiming for, something like that.
Yes, what they're aiming for. So, what was your kind of takeaway from this segment?
That I was very glad there was a commercial break, so I could, like, blank
sure.
that one off. This one, I don't know. I feel like they needed another pass at it, because, like, it's clear she's lonely. And her conversations are really just with her son and, like, the love interest slightly. But, I don't know. Kathy Baker is such a great actress, and she doesn't need anybody to bring out those, like, internal things through dialogue. But I don't think the dialogue and direction serves her very well in this. I did make the joke she's not on the poster because they wanted to bury this segment and forget about it. But I don't know.
Poor Kathy, though.
I feel like there is an idea of a weird Lynchian movie in here that if the right person got their hands on it, could make it interesting and bring Kathy Baker back. Sure. Maybe a different child, because this is now a grown-ass man. But I don't know. It feels like they didn't explore this idea in a thoughtful way. It's the one that feels the most surface, but also like, I'm going to talk about this in therapy.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And it just feels also the most expendable, dare I say, from these stories.
There's a reason she's not on the poster.
I know. She's also not really like a star compared to the other people.
Yeah,
but like still, if I was Kathy, I would be annoyed. Just saying.
I would be too, because at this point, like, Kathy Baker is probably the closest at being a star she is in her career, like when she's winning her Emmys and on a pretty successful show. And it's like right after all of that, I feel like they could have done more with her. Like, don't waste a good character actress. That's like a sin in my book.
Yeah, so that's one where I just feel like there was a lot of potential that was just not explored well. So, yeah, probably my least favorite segment, unfortunately, of this, even though I love Kathy Baker. And then we get to Goodnight Lily, Goodnight Christine, which is Callista and Valeria Golino. And
yes.
I do think that their scenes in this segment are among the more affecting of the at least non-Glenn segments, where it's just kind of showing the process of this woman dying and the process of being the person who is caring for your soulmate who is dying and like trying to be there for them, but also dealing with your own shit. Like there's some more substance here and the performances really seem to be connecting stronger here for me.
I agree. I think because it doesn't feel like there's as much dialogue, but it's like two actresses who can do so much with their faces and expressions. And they have a really good chemistry as a queer couple for, as far as I know, being straight people. Even though she pops up in Portrait of a Lady on Fire, that did delight me. But this I thought was pretty beautiful, like just the process of taking care of your terminally ill partner. And this one does feel like the least rich white lady problems. Like you see them, they sleep in separate beds because her partner is sick and dying, but they have such intimacy. And yes, their conversations about birds and cages and stuff is a little on the nose, but it's also got the most effective morbid comedy because you hear the story about the vacuum and the birds and everything, and it's like it shouldn't be funny, but it's kind of funny, like just being a stupid kid doing that. But I really like this. I feel like there's not as much to go into just because it almost felt montage-y at a lot of points, but I did enjoy their chemistry and their scenes, and it was a nice break after the other two segments of what is going on here. This felt like a nice little balm.
You can exhale now, Chelsea. Right? Yeah, definitely a few cliches here and there about metaphor, like birds, yes, but I think Callista is so vulnerable here just in how she's navigating this, how she feels so powerless, and also just how heartbreaking it is to hear her girlfriend, her life partner, like talk about feeling like this is the end. And like I also saw a critic who wrote a review of this film. She described Callista as a brittle bird in her typical screen persona, and how it's very well deployed here, just in how she kind of modulates of like being on the brink of tears for so much of it, but wanting to keep it together for her.
Exactly.
And then finally breaking down a little bit when her partner is asking her to describe the day that they first met. I think that's a very moving climax to the segment, personally.
It really is, and I think it's maybe the most emotionally effective like performance in the whole film. Even like, sorry, Glenn. They needed to give Glenn more. That's me always. But I think Callista is the one who should have got the Emmy nomination of if anybody was going to get one out of this, because we see her journey of like trying to keep it together, like taking care of this person, trying to make this person laugh. And like in every private moment, you see her like on the verge of breaking down, not really taking care of herself in many ways. And putting all of her efforts into the person she loves to make like these final days, hours, time, whatever we want to call it, meaningful in many ways. So again, I really appreciate this performance. And yes, there's like the whole bury your gaze of it all, but I do think this works and doesn't fall really into that trope.
Yeah, I agree, because Valeria Golino seems to have like a very well-developed character for me. So yeah, I think Callista would probably be my MVP as well. Yeah, like
what they managed to do in like a segment where it feels like they don't have the most time. I'm like, I want to spend more time with them. I want to know what their whole life is. And then obviously have Glenn intersect with that. Like maybe those two segments should have been the whole movie of these two lives paralleling each other.
Wow. Yeah, I think that would have made this so much better, honestly. Cut out everyone else. Yeah.
They both do such a fantastic job, and they're so believably queer in this, which is one thing that I'm always judging. It's like, do they actually seem like queer people, or are they like two best friends? And they seem like queer people. They have a great chemistry. The intimacy feels correct. So I wanted to see more of them. We were like low-key robbed. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And that's also where I'll say I think I was a little worried after how I felt kind of clumsily they treated some of the stuff with the Holly Hunter segment and the Kathy Baker segment. I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do with two women who are in love? Like, is this going to feel really dated? But I think it still holds up.
I think it really does as well. And I was shocked that of all of the segments and topics that they cover, I'm like, they did the gay stuff actually kind of good? Wow.
Yeah.
Like, again, Glenn, always shocked when your gay stuff turns out okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's what you're here for, to explore whether Glenn's gay stuff turns out okay. And usually it does.
Who knew?
But yes. So the final segment we have is Love Waits for Kathy. So this is where we go back to Amy Brenneman, who we saw in the beginning as this detective who was investigating the suicide. We see her, she lives with her blind sister, Carol, played by Cameron Diaz, who it is suggested here that she is quite sexually active, or at least very social. She's very confident. And also, by the way, worth noting, one little cute trivia fact is that there's a little Easter egg here where the Braille book that Carol is reading is 100 Years of Solitude by Rodrigo Garcia's dad, Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
There we
Isn't
go.
That cute?
That is pretty cute.
Yeah, but I think that's where the theme really emerges again for me of how Rodrigo is seemingly trying to like transcend certain stereotypes with how people with disabilities are typically sort of depicted in the media, of like showing they lead these very active lives with agency, which is admirable. I think it connects with the person with dwarfism in the Kathy Baker segment, where he seems to be very charismatic and leading his own active life.
Also, as we know, queerness is classified as mental illness in most times of the world.
Sure.
So there we go.
Well, yes. Yeah, it all kind of connects there. But like, again, I think all that is admirable. It's just, I feel like it would be a little more admirable if it was actually about those characters. Because like, yes, Cameron Diaz is prominently featured on the poster, but it's not really about her. It's not her story in this segment.
No, it's
more about
Cameron
Amy Brenneman here.
It's about Amy, but also Cameron Diaz kind of fan fictioning this woman who committed suicide, who Amy Brenneman is like investigating her death. And it's very much the thesis of the film being told to you by the woman who is blind.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little strange. And like, I think Cameron Diaz does a mostly solid job, especially after watching the two very wild segments. This one is like, its level of wildness is kind of tampered down because we've seen some crazier things happen already. But I do like Amy Brenneman's performance in this. I think she is taking care of her sister in many ways. They're roommates. And I do like that we see that her sister has this active life and she's almost jealous. You see her hook up with Walter and Amy's just like watching them and watching how Cameron Diaz locked him out of the bedroom and he's like begging to come back inside. And Kathy's like longing for companionship. So I think she plays that very well.
I think so too. It is very like a non-showy performance compared to some of the others here. But Amy Brenneman is very good at that kind of even keel, but still interesting. Like she was on Judging Amy around this time, of course.
Emmy nominated this very year for Judging Amy.
Exactly. And so, yeah, she's very dependable, Amy Brenneman. But seeing her the way she is kind of unnerved by the death of this woman and feeling kind of inferior to her sister and how social her life is and how Kathy is so consumed by her work, it's tying back into all of the themes that we've been talking about of being a little bit of a caregiver and being self-sacrificing and what that does to your own personal well-being and your relationships of like wanting intimacy, but not really feeling like you can get to that place. You know, all of these things tie in well to the point where it's like, if I'm reading this as a book, I could imagine it's all interlocking in an interesting way. It's just watching it in execution, it doesn't quite get there.
No,
on a
and
film,
like,
you know,
I know we're supposed to like see and hear from Cameron Diaz like Kathy's projections of her own loneliness on the woman who committed suicide, probably because she was lonely. And I think we're supposed to connect some deeper meaning to that, but it doesn't really connect in any way because of how they don't really commit to this woman who's like committed suicide, and she like has little cameos throughout every segment. So it just, you want more for Kathy's segment by the end. Like, we see that she does end up going on a date with like a coworker, but it just feels kind of like, oh, okay, what are we doing? It's not very interesting. And yes, Kathy is the first person we technically see in this movie because it like opens on her being a detective, but they don't really capitalize on that in any way, I don't think.
No, not really.
No.
She is very functional and very like exposition heavy in what she's doing.
Yeah.
And
then we see like Cameron Diaz, she has like her date and one night stand with this guy, and I guess she like teaches the guy's blind daughter, maybe.
Yes.
But then like the guy avoids Cameron Diaz after their encounter, and like the whole elevator scene I did think was pretty okay because he's like sneaking out of an elevator and Cameron Diaz obviously can't see him, but she recognizes his smell. So I think there's some moments in here that work and could be effective, again, if they committed to something more, but it really doesn't add up.
No. And to the point you were talking about of like spelling out what the themes of the movie are, when Carol is speculating about the life of this woman who ended her life, the way she sums it all up by saying, oh, well, only a fool would speculate about the life of a woman. When I hear that phrase, I'm kind of like, well, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
In the sense that I don't know if Rodrigo Garcia, all due respect, is the right person to speculate about the life of a woman.
Yeah, it's like, sir, read that sentence aloud again. Just say that and then look into a mirror and say it louder. Like, maybe you're not the person to make this movie. Like, cool, co-write it with somebody. Bring other voices in if you have this idea. But this is the part of where we go female gaze, the film club, where we're like, should this have been made by a man? And probably not.
Probably not, and not to be essentialist about it, but there's just certain things from a perspective that you need with these things. But do we want to talk any at all about the connective tissue there, though, of this woman who shows up in each of these stories very briefly, like just kind of passing by on the street in certain points?
Yeah, it's like she's passing on the streets, just walking by, or is looking at an apartment or something. First off, the actress is not even listed on the Wikipedia page or on the poster or anything. I think at least pay her some respect if you're gonna use her as a plot device. But I guess this woman, Carmen, she just passes through in the grocery store and everything, and this is the character that Cameron Diaz's Carol, like, fanfictions her life. And I will just read this from the Wikipedia because we're supposed to interpret this. It's like she's back in town to reconnect with her ex, whom she's been talking to for months or anything, and you want to do this, and I guess she, like, lost a baby at some point. And she's heartbroken, and that's why she kills herself. Like, it is the most surface, shallow, whatever you want to call it, take on why a woman would end their life. And I'm like, ooh, I did bristle at all of this. Because I'm like, no. Women are way more interesting than that.
Yeah, and I also just think that character would probably have something a little more of substance to say about a woman, even if you're speculating about her.
And, like, she's the only real woman of color in this. So it's kind of insane that, like, she's
it really is
nothing.
a plot device more than a character.
Fully a plot device.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, I felt like I was almost getting, to bring it back to Desperate Housewives, a little bit of that, like, Mary Alice, who kills herself at the beginning of that show, and, like, how that kind of also informs these other women around her, their stories.
Exactly. Like,
I just feel like that show does it much better than what this is doing.
Oh, yeah, because you know exactly who she is. Like, from episode 1, we're supposed to, like, play Where's Waldo with this character, Carmen, and it's just genuinely kind of offensive that your one woman of color is just like a Where's Waldo plot device that you're going to monologue about later.
And we never get her actual story.
No,
so,
not even a little bit.
Yeah. Well, anyway, by the end, we're checking in on Rebecca, who does not answer the door when her guy that she's having an affair with knocks on her door, which feels like perhaps progress.
Growth.
Sure. We see Christine looking at these two birds, happily chirping away in their cage.
Not going to vacuum
back
them
to birds.
up.
No, she learned her lesson. We see Rose doing the dishes, but then also being delighted when her neighbor arrives at her door with flowers. So I guess that's a thing.
Good for her.
Good for her. And then we also see Dr. Keener at a bar accepting a light of her cigarette from Walter. Here he is again. And she kind of gives him this little look of, like, intrigue.
The younger man from my tarot cards.
There it is. It all ties together. And those are the things you can tell just by looking at her.
That's what this is called? I'm not going to remember that, Kevin. You're going to ask me, like, the next time I'm on the show. We were on these episodes. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
In many ways, this movie does feel like a fever dream.
Yes.
And I also respect how there are certain people who do get something out of this movie. I think, again, thematically it is compelling, and it has some things to say about women at the turn of the century who are dealing with their shit and these stories that aren't usually told on film. It's just the way that it's executed really does not work very much for me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Glenn is great in her segment. Callista is great in her segments. Other than that, I struggle a little bit with a lot of these elements here. And I just think if this story were told, 25 years later, around now, I think it could be worked out a little more.
I think so. I think if you just change up some of the behind-the-scenes creative collaborators, then maybe you've got something. Like, maybe let a woman direct it. Or, like, take a few passes.
Write it.
Take a few passes at the script. Find a lesbian. An active lesbian.
An active lesbian to bring it back to Serving in Silence.
Yes, always. What a movie.
Beautiful. Yes. You'll never forget that one.
Never.
So.
Oh my gosh. I think about that movie all the time, actually.
Wow. Well, anyway, shall we move on? Or do you have any other stray observations? Any other things you need to talk out to help you process this?
I think we've talked more about this movie than anybody else in the history of filmmaking.
Wow. We're breaking new ground on this show.
We really are.
So, all right. Well, on that note, things you can tell just by looking at her premiered at the Sundance Film Festival on January 22nd, 2000, where Rodrigo Garcia won the NHK Award, which is for emerging filmmakers.
Sure.
Yeah. It then screened at the Cannes Film Festival in May, where it won the Uncertain Regard Award, which, for people who don't know, is highlighting, again, newer voices and movies that are kind of cutting edge or pushing boundaries. And so from there, that is where things get messy, because at that point, it's then bought by MGM. They plan a theatrical release, but then they changed their mind and decided to sell it to the cable channel Showtime, which I believe no longer exists.
Yeah, it's like in the Paramount universe of things.
Yes.
Like, is it a channel? Right. Is it a streamer? Who's to say? All I know is I watched Yellow Jackets.
Is it a secret third thing?
There you go.
And I also found an article from Salon from around that time, which says an MGM UA spokeswoman explained that although the picture is small and great, the studio felt that it wouldn't be able to draw an audience in theaters and would have a much better chance of being seen on Showtime.
Showtime was making a lot of television movies at this time or releasing them. They were getting audiences and Emmys, and I think people actually watched this film, and once they saw it, they were like, yeah, nobody's going to pay to see this. I'm sorry,
Okay.
That was brutal, but man, I don't think I would give real dollars to see this.
Well, here's what I will counter to that. To me, all of this reeks of sexism, because there is no way that if this was an anthology movie like this about a group of men struggling to be men at the turn of the century, or even mix up the genders, doesn't have to be all men, it would not have gotten this treatment.
You are very
And I'm not
right.
defending the movie.
No,
I'm just saying demographically, I think that is the case.
Oh, you are absolutely correct.
Yes. And even as the Salon article points out, it would not have been a blockbuster. It would not have made all that much money, but it would have been maybe a solid art house play. Like, this does have some stars in it.
Exactly.
And as they said in this article, in the same vein as, like, You Can Count on Me, which is what they compare this to. Obviously very different movies, but perhaps serving a similar sort of niche audience.
True, because how many movies have men directed that are about men that go to Sundance, and the next movie, it's just like Jurassic World? Like, just truly garbage male-driven films at these smaller festivals get theatrical releases, and then everybody is, like, tripping over themselves to give them money for more things. Yeah, I agree with you there, because that is nonsense. Like, yes, is this a good movie? No. Would I give it money? Probably not. But I would rather see this in a theater than, like, 90% of the schlock that men are making.
Yeah. Sundance winning an award, Cannes winning an award. They could have easily, continued the momentum in the year 2000 after those wins.
You would think.
That positive buzz to put it in theaters. But no.
Nope.
They shunted it to Showtime.
Too many women.
Too many women. That's another title for this movie. Too many women.
It's like so many that Kathy Baker couldn't even be on the poster.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, okay, well, with awards, it did receive one singular Emmy nomination. Unfortunately, it was not for Glenn. It was for Holly Hunter, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a Miniseries or Movie. Would you say that's deserved?
Holly Hunter, much like Glenn Close, was always in film and television. And, won several Emmys for television stuff and continues to bounce back and forth. So I'm not surprised she was nominated. She would not be my nomination for this. I think Callista or Glenn would be. Mm-hmm. But I'm not surprised. But also she did have what I would call the craziest segment in that truly one battle after another for Holly. And so she went through the most, so that makes kind of sense because the segments I liked were the way more subtle ones. So I'm not surprised. I will say, though, this is my tangent time because you know me and I love a tangent.
Yes.
If you want to watch a great Judy Davis movie, go watch Life with Judy Garland, Me and My Shadows.
Or watch Serving in Silence.
Serving in Silence. You know what? Double feature. I actually almost did double feature those on my first podcast appearance. So Judy wins an Emmy, but so does Tammy Blanchard for this. And I will tell people where Tammy Blanchard was in her career. My friend and I, we watch a lot of soap operas, and at this time, Tammy was on his favorite soap opera, Guiding Light. I am named after a character on Guiding Light, actually. Fun fact. She played this character, Drew Jacobs, and she was supposed to be like a supporting actress, campy best friend character. And I know we think of Tammy as an actress who can act now, and she is amazing in this Judy Garland, movie, miniseries, whatever. Truly, at this time, right before the Judy Garland, she could not act to save her life. You can go back and watch full episodes of Guiding Light on YouTube. her entire run was there recently, truly, like, does not know where she is. It feels like she's reading off of cue cards. So this is an instance of, like, a breakout performance, and that somebody who had to learn how to act on a soap opera gives, like, one of those, like, definitive great television movie performances. And she earned that Emmy win, and she is so much better than whatever the hell Holly Hunter is doing. Because Holly, girl, they gave you everything and a bad wig. I could not believe what I was seeing. I will say, though, this category that Holly is in is stacked with some of your favorite actresses. You have Audra McDonald for Wit. Wit is like one of Emma Thompson's best movies, by the way. Everyone go watch it. You're going to cry. It's fine.
Yep.
One of our favorite Best Actress winners, Anne Bancroft, is here.
Bancroft.
She's always doing a TV thing at this time as well. And then Brenda Blethyn.
For something called Haven.
It doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Don't need it.
Don't need it. And then Brenda Blethyn in the Anne Frank TV thing that was going on. I wonder if that's one I watched in school. We watched a lot of Anne Frank stuff in school. And you know what? People should continue watching it. The world's a little too wild right now.
Yep. Still relevant. It's a good category, I would say. A lot of great actresses. Like, truly, like, top-of-the-line actresses. And it is funny that Tammy Blanchard, who has, like, the lowest reputation of those five,
and was
is ultimately the winner.
And was a horrible actress before this. Like,
like, you cannot stress this enough.
Like, I texted Jesse just to double-check. I'm like, what did you think of Tammy on Guiding Light at this time? And he just responded with, like, the zipped lips emoji.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to say something bad about your favorite show, but also that baby girl didn't know where she was. I do think it is funny that Holly Hunter is a double nominee this year and a double loser to the Judy Garland movie. Because she was in the When Billy Beat Bobby, the Billie Jean King ABC movie.
Wow.
And then, obviously, Amy Brenneman is nominated this year for Judging Amy. Callista is nominated for Ally McBeal. So, in many ways, this movie was well recognized in other categories.
Yes, the people in it were recognized in other categories for other things, which is fine. Glenn did not get recognized, unfortunately, this year, but
her Serving in Silence co-producer was.
Yes, Barbara Streisand, right? She won a individual
like a
variety performer thing. Yeah. So, yeah, Judy Davis, Barbara Streisand, the Serving in Silence legacy continues.
We're here.
We love to see it. Yes, let's talk why we think Things You Could Tell ... received this kind of reception, where it feels like it was relatively well received, but also didn't really have a huge impact.
I will say, just like looking at these Emmy categories, like just for that level of recognition, there's a lot of really good programming that was nominated this year. Like, this is one of those golden age of televisions that they're always talking about. Personally, I think television is always good every year because there's just too many great things to watch, even 30 years ago. This is just a really big time in television, and had it been in theaters, it probably would have had a similar, like, impact, I think, more or less. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we get to see so many actresses in the same thing and working together, and, like, the men are just nuisances, so it's like, it's just it's a strange film, and I think that's kind of why people were able to, like, overlook it in many ways. It was also on Showtime, and at this time, Showtime is just trying to be HBO, but it's not HBO.
Yeah. I just think it lost a lot of the momentum of, like, those early wins at those festivals.
Yeah, like,
you know, it even says as much in the Wikipedia page.
I mean,
like,
you do Sundance, you do Cannes, you should honestly just be coming out in October at that point, or September.
Honestly.
Like, have a nice little platform build and stuff, but no. They just kind of fumbled the release, and then they throw it to television, which is seen as the lesser medium, which television has never been lesser. It's always been the challenger, and films had to step up, but
Right. Like, critics were writing, like, how MGM kind of failed this film by dumping it on Showtime the following year. And so I don't even know how much of a campaign there was awards-wise, but yeah, I just think the perception of it, like, being, okay, now this is a TV movie, it made it seem a little more disposable, I guess. A little more of a lifetime movie, quote unquote, of sorts, than if it was released in theaters. It would have been talked about and probably received differently.
Exactly. And like, I cannot emphasize enough that Holly Hunter got into the Emmys probably because Holly Hunter was just always at the Emmys around this time.
Yeah, it could have been a name check, honestly.
Yeah, like she won 2 Emmys this same decade and was nominated 1, 2, 3 more times. And then before she got her, what I call the Glenn Close of it all, where you get your own TV series, and Saving Grace, where she was nominated some more. Like, she's a favorite. What can I say? Holly's that girl.
I do probably think that is probably a name check nomination, unfortunately, for Holly.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just wish a little more of the cast was recognized, especially Glenn and Callista, because I think they were serving a little bit more. But let's get to our final segment, where we're going to rate Glenn's performance on a specific scale. So thinking about her performance and where this sits in her career, would you say that with her performance as Dr. Keener, she's ready for her close-up? Is it low Glenergy? Is it close but no cigar? Or, as you suggested to me, I believe a few weeks ago, as a possible addition, is she serving in silence, which is to say, delivering a great supporting performance?
Obviously, she is serving in silence because Glenn comes in, she's got her segment, and then she shows up in like 2 other little scenes, not really the star of anything. She's so impactful. If you take her out, you're missing her, but she's not always the first thing you think about whenever you're thinking about this movie. And I think she delivers such a lovely performance in a film that's not really for her or serving her.
I agree, and I think it's only fitting that you're here to help crown her first serving in silence performance here. It is ultimately an underdeveloped character, I would say, but that first segment is so riveting because of what she brings to it, really. It's her looks. It's how she reflects her character's sort of loneliness, and you can sort of see the edges around who this character is, even, within the confines of what this small little segment is for her. You can still see a real person here. So, yeah, I just wish somehow this was a full movie about her and Callista, honestly. Or maybe this would have even been served better as just a play.
Oh, that'd be good. And both of them can do it still. Like, I believe in them.
Absolutely.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, she's serving in silence. And stay tuned for more Rodrigo Garcia later this year, as he is the director of 9 Lives, which is another anthology film, Albert Nobbs, and 4 Good Days. So, yes, we are boosting our Rodrigo Garcia filmography completism
this
is
year. Us,
year.
Like, cutting the ribbon, opening ceremony. Hopefully it's just all uphill from here. I like Albert Nobbs more than this movie. I'll give him that.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I would call it a bumpy road. There's hills and valleys, not necessarily all uphill.
Much like this anthology.
Like, yes. Actually, one last tangent for you. Can you guess what Rodrigo Garcia movie is his most logged movie on Letterboxd?
I'm gonna guess Albert Nobbs, but I know that can't be correct. Because I think me, you, and like 4 other people are the only ones who've seen that, like Oscar obsessives.
Well, it is her second most. It is his second most logged.
Wow.
But there's one that's more logged than that.
I'm scared.
And that movie is 4 Good Days.
What? That movie's like impossible to find.
Yep.
All of y'all tried to watch 4 Good Days? Is this because Letterboxd was not a big thing around Albert Nobbs?
I think so. I think that's exactly it. And I think a lot of people watched it because Diane Warren got an Oscar nomination for it.
I will say, I would rather have the Diane Warren era of like the late 90s, early 2000s songs happening right now, being nominated for everything and covering all of them than whatever is happening now. Like,
she should have written a song for this movie.
She should have. Then it would be in a theater. You know it would be.
It would have been. Yeah. And I say this with all the love and respect. This is exactly the kind of movie that Diane Warren would write a song for and get nominated.
And it would be used in the trailer.
Exactly the kind of movie. Tell It Like a Woman.
Oh, I've seen that.
Another alternate title for this movie. So there you go.
That's true. The things you do when you tell it like a woman.
Somehow you do. Somehow you do. Chelsea, this was rather unhinged, but I had a great time.
Same.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I hope we've processed together.
Sorry, I just am processing the Kathy Baker stuff again. Continue, sorry.
Yeah. No, I just appreciate that you're always here to break down any TV movies that Glenn is doing, as unhinged as they may be, or as secretly great as they may be.
Exactly. I'm the queen
You
of the
never know.
TV
It's a grab bag.
movies. I am the super nanny of this podcast. If Kevin calls, I'm on my way. So thank you for always having me. People don't realize I only asked to be on 2 things when you started this podcast, and that hasn't come yet.
Nope. I am forcing you to do these movies that you have not chosen, but It's okay.
It's okay. I'm having a great time. Serving in silence. What
Good.
a picture. I have the DVD, y'all.
There you go. Anyway, where can people find more of you on the internet?
I am Chelsea725 on the Blue Sky, the Serialized, occasionally Letterboxd when I wish to be perceived. If you can spell my name, this is your mini challenge. It's Chelsea Eichholz on Instagram. And then I have a plethora of podcasts. There's Across the Whoniverse coming in February with Paige, where we talk about Doctor Who episodes and recap all that. And then, obviously, the Q Division, a James Bond movie marathon podcast with Gavin of Mary Riley fame. My favorite episode of this podcast.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
we're breaking down every single James Bond movie and some fake James Bond movies. Maybe Kevin will be on one of those. Who knows? And then there's And a Rewatch podcast, where we talk about all the TV we're rewatching, and its new spinoff, Shh, My Stories Are On, where we talk about all the new TV shows that we're watching as they're happening. And I do that with Paige, Owen, and Jesse. So, y'all,
Fun.
It's a good time. I'm just always talking about TV and nonsense.
You're always yapping.
I'm a yapper at heart.
And we love that. Yes, thank you all so much for listening. You can find me at Kevin_Jacobsen on Twitter and Instagram. Just Kevin Jacobsen, no underscore on Blue Sky. You can listen to my Oscar-themed podcast, And the Runner-Up Is, for coverage of every single Best Actress race, including 3 bangers with Chelsea here, as I advertised last time. That's And the Runner-Up Is on all platforms. And to keep up with the world according to Glenn on social, follow The Glenn Pod. And rate, review, and follow this show on all podcast platforms. And with that, I'll bid you all adieu.